Hello and welcome to Just a Cheese Please. I'm Adam and I'm here with Tara J. How you doing today, Tara?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And we're going to be speaking about Xanadu today. This was my pick. And I can already see, because we could see each other, I can see you laughing.
Yes, I'm laughing for sure.
Did you love this movie?
Oh, did I love it? I'll say one thing before we start, that it's interesting that, was it the last movie that maybe I guess 2 movies ago we did Ishtar, which was supposed to be the worst movie ever made. I'm not sure why this was not claimed by this movie, that title, but I don't know. 1980 must have been an interesting year.
Let's start with history. Do you have any history with this movie?
I've never seen it. Obviously, I've heard of it. Never saw the movie. When I was younger, I just always remember referring to it as the roller skating movie because I know that there was a lot of roller skating in this movie. But besides the fact that Olivia Newton-John was in it and there was roller skating, I had no idea. Like, I didn't even realize what kind of genre it was. I didn't realize it was like kind of a musical or whatever. Well, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I didn't know anything going into this, really.
Yeah. If you check out the music, I think this script probably had like 10 pages.
I think I have that written down in my notes. And like, so it's just a lot of music and each number lasted really, really long.
Yeah, some interesting trivia about that too. But so I'll tell you my history with this movie. Like most of the movies that I pick, I've seen this a ton because this was on all the time in my house. You'd think I've seen so many movies that we must not have seen the same one twice, but for some reason we've seen all the movies like 20, 30 times. And this is one of the ones that was always in my house. But I'm trying to remember if anyone in my family liked it, and I don't think they did. I don't know why this was playing so often in my house. It's not my sisters, because my sisters don't like this movie.
Maybe your dad liked it.
I don't know. I don't know why this was on so much, but I've seen this plenty of times. But always as a kid. I haven't seen this in probably 20, 30 years maybe. So 25 years. So
it was probably interesting to watch as an adult then.
It was, but I remembered a lot of it. It actually didn't have that thing where like you watch something and you kind of understand it a little bit better. I don't know, it was a pretty simple, I guess there were some things that maybe I didn't understand when I was a kid, but not like it made any more sense this time.
I was going to say, I don't really think it makes that much sense anyway. And there's like really not much of a plot, it's, let's hear what the plot is. Well, I guess that, there's this, artist guy and he's wants to do something, meaningful and whatever, but he's just wasting his time painting album covers, which is so awesome. I'm sorry, but his job seemed really cool. So I don't know what his problem was. But anyway, so he like tears up a painting or a drawing he's doing, and then it goes past his mural. And at first I had to kind of look it up because I really didn't understand. Like, I don't know a lot about Greek mythology, and I don't even know if this is like really based on real Greek mythology. Is it like
take some liberties?
Okay, so he goes past his mural, and then they all these women in the painting in the mural start coming to life. So I thought they were aliens at first, but apparently they're not.
Aliens trapped in a painting.
They get released. Well, I mean, does it make more sense that they're muses from like Mount Olympus or whatever? So they come to life and like I guess they dance around a little bit and then they go. I guess they leave to go back to wherever. I don't know. I don't even know how they got trapped in there. And then Olivia Newton-John stays, Kira, and she meets this guy, they meet, and then he like falls in love with her, and she's there to basically help him realize his dreams. Like she's his muse for him to do something, meaningful, whatever he's been looking for. Along the way, he meets Gene Kelly, who used to have a club and used to be like a big band guy, play the clarinet. We see him playing on the beach, which I started laughing really hard when I saw that.
Well, I mean, just to clarify, when you say a muse, it's not a metaphor. She's like literally like
an actual muse. Yeah. Like the actual embodiment of a muse.
Yeah.
That he obviously knew her from. She was his muse, I guess, back in the 40s.
Gene Kelly.
Is that yeah. So she comes back and she helps them, and he wants to open a club again, and they end up opening a club with her help. She's their muse and helps them, and then she has to go back to wherever she came from. But they fell in love, and she doesn't really want to go, but she has to. And then they have this very bizarre club. I don't know what's going on in there, but and I guess that's it. I mean, I can't really figure out the end. Like, is she there to like? Do they end up together?
Yeah.
No, he meets her. Okay, yeah, he meets her again. I guess in the form of a waitress or something, someone that looks like her. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm assuming it's her, but they try to play it off like it's someone else, or he forgot.
Yeah,
he has amnesia now. Or he doesn't. I don't know. I didn't get the end either. I even have like, did they even wrap the story up? Does she get to stay? Like, that's in my notes.
Yeah, I don't know.
And also is like, because we always talk about in the 80s movies, they end so quickly and abruptly. You're always looking at the clock and being like, there's only 15 minutes left. How are they going to wrap everything up? In this movie, I was thinking...
It was the opposite.
No. No, I was thinking there's only 15 minutes left. How are they going to wrap it up? And they just didn't wrap it up and just danced around for 15 minutes at the end.
I was like looking at the time, like, I pause it. And I was like, all right, there's 15 minutes left. They've been dancing for about 10 minutes already, on top of this. What's going to happen? Like, how are they going to wrap this up? And there's a lot of dancing, and then it's just like the end. And then it's just like, wait, I want to talk to you. And she's like, okay. And then they have that weird 70s newscaster thing going on where they're like in silhouette and they're still talking. It was very strange.
Yeah. So let's go. My notes go chronologically, so I have some notes on the scenes. First of all, that drawing he did that he ripped up, it wasn't even like a complete drawing. It looked like it was the base of someone's face. It was the starting of like a face,
right? But
just like the circles that you would normally draw for proportions. Really, there wasn't any like characteristics to the face or anything like that.
Right. It was like he started drawing with like charcoal or whatever, and then was just so frustrated with it, he ripped it up and threw it out the window. I'm like, you don't have a garbage can in your house? That really made me mad. He tosses all this paper out of his window. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
And they stay together and they float across like 6 different houses.
Of course.
And then they float across this mural, and the 9 muses wake up, the 9 sisters. And is it this painting? Did this painting wake up those sisters? I don't know why they were trapped in the painting.
So it never is explained, right? I didn't miss something? Okay, I didn't blink and miss it? All right, because I didn't understand why they were trapped in that mural at all. More on the mural later, because I just do not understand any of that.
Yeah.
But I guess the fact that he was his frustration was in, I might be like looking into this too much. I don't think this movie is very deep. But his frustration was so much that they could sense it in the art that was like flying by, and he needed a muse. I don't know.
Yeah, but he didn't just wake up one muse. I feel like he woke up all of them. And when they all went into the sky, and then I feel like she came back down in his neighborhood, but the others probably came back down in other neighborhoods to inspire other people. But why were they all waiting on his dream for them to be released?
I don't know. Why were they there in the first place? It makes absolutely no sense. It does not make any sense.
Also, I don't know where this is supposed to take place. I'm guessing L.A.
I think it's supposed to be L.A., yeah.
Okay, because the names are Kira, Danny McGuire, and Sonny Malone. What is this, like the little Dublin section of L.A.?
I just think it's funny that Irish. Gene Kelly played somebody named Danny McGuire. I don't know why that was funny to me, but he's so not a Danny McGuire character at all.
I think it's because one of his characters was named Danny McGuire in like the 40s, like an early movie of his.
There is supposedly some connections with a lot of things from Xanadu with old movies. From what I read, I didn't read the whole, like all of the articles, but I did see, I kind of touched on like a little bit of some of the things that it said.
I guess because the 70s were turning into the 80s and they thought they had reached the pinnacle of music and dance and art. I'm guessing this was the thinking. So they basically tried to create a movie that encompassed all of history of music and art from all the different eras.
Right.
And Gene Kelly brought with him a lot of the kind of musical dance numbers from movies back in the 40s. And then they had the 70s and they were in the 80s. And it just kind of tried to mix everything together.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so they wake up and they just do a dance. And that's your first hint is to like, this is just going to be music and dance. Because they just dance around in the street for like, I don't know, a good while.
It was a little long, and I kind of found it interesting that, like, so obviously Olivia Newton-John has a very beautiful voice, but she doesn't, I guess she's not a very good dancer so much. I mean, she did okay with the tap dancing, but it was kind of funny, but that, like, all of the other, dancers are doing all this stuff, and they're, like, spinning around and flipping, and she does the thing with her eyes or something. She doesn't like do it.
She does these poses.
Do anything. Yeah. She barely like dance. She did not do like any of the dancing in that weird Muse coming alive scene.
I mean, I have a lot to say about her in this, but we'll save it for the end. Yeah. I don't understand dancing in movies. I know it was a thing. Like there was a thing like a roller skating movie in the 70s that they were trying to also capture, but I don't understand that, because it's like if you're watching a live performance, I get you're watching a bunch of people dance around in synchronicity, and it's kind of cool. But if you're watching a movie and there's like a whole day and you can have like different takes, it doesn't I don't know, it doesn't interest me then to watch you like spin around in a circle on television. It could be like your 10th try, you know? Yeah,
I absolutely agree with that. I have to say I found it kind of boring. I think it was a lot of the numbers were it was just too long. They were very long, and there were so many of them. So I guess, I mean, this is considered a musical, which I had no idea. I didn't realize. I figured there would be like a song or two, because she sings. So I assumed that would be the case, but I did not expect what I got.
Yeah, I remember it being 50-50, but I don't think that's correct. I think it was like 80-20.
Yeah, it was way more dancing and singing than there was of an actual like movie, people talking, discussing plots.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a very weird job, right? So his job is to take an album cover and paint a bigger version of the album cover to hang in record stores for promotions, which is kind of cool, but it's also a little bizarre. I have to imagine that whoever wrote this drew inspiration from someone he met that had that as a job. And he was like, oh, that's an awesome job. I got to put that in a movie or something. Because it's so bizarre. Like he has to even explain it to like the other main character in the movie.
Yeah, it is very strange. It must be, it could be drawn from someone that like somebody actually knew personally, because it's a very strange, I mean, I never even thought of that. Like, you always think like it's computers and the printing, but I guess it wasn't always like that. So They had to have someone actually painting things.
He's kind of a dick to his boss.
Well, he goes to work when he feels like it. He shows up and everyone's like, oh, look, it's Rembrandt. Or like they're all kind of making fun of him. And then he literally gets there and leaves 5 minutes later to go find this girl. I mean, he sees the record, he gets to work, doesn't do a damn thing, sees the record, goes try to find her, and then he's out the door and he's running around town trying to find her. So yeah, he sucks.
He does.
He's the worst employee ever.
Well, because she runs into him. Well, okay, so
on his way to work.
He's going to work. She runs into him on roller skates, kisses him, and then skates off. And he's like, that was weird. And then he happens to have to paint an album cover where she's on it, because she like ran into a frame while they were taking a picture, and she's like glowing and everything. And he's like, oh, I got to find this girl. She kissed me on the street. Now I got an album cover. I got to paint. She's on it. So he's at work for, I don't know, like 5 minutes, and then just leaves again.
Basically, yeah.
And his boss is not really that much of a dick. He's kind of just like, why can't you just do what I tell you to do and work?
Yeah, he's like, do your job because you get paid to do it. Like, just stay here and work. It's not like a hard concept.
And he's just like, no, I'm an artist. I'm an artist. Meanwhile, he never actually fulfills his dream of becoming an artist. He gets a muse who basically tells him, you should probably start a nightclub. Like, don't pursue painting.
Yeah, you're not really that good, so just do something else.
And what exactly did he contribute to the nightclub anyway?
I was left with that exact same question. And like, not to mention that they got that nightclub together in about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It was like star wipe and they're done. Oh, the transitions were hilarious. Oh my gosh. I was like, every time it would be like this funny, like 80s UFO noise, and it would be different kind of, designs. I love it. That was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took 2 seconds for them to get that club in order and like legal and, all the paperwork and to clean it up. It was done like maybe it was like 4 days.
I do feel like this entire world was made for Sonny. He goes around saying like things don't work out for him. He's starving. He's poor. It makes it seem like the world's trying to like kick him in the ass. But I feel like this entire world is just made for him, because basically he has a job whether he wants it or not, no matter how he treats people. He gets a muse. He doesn't need one. He walks up to Gene Kelly on the beach, who's playing clarinet. like he's walking by the beach looking for Kira. He gets distracted by a clarinet. He finds Gene Kelly playing the clarinet and says, "Hey, I don't like that song. Play something else." And Gene Kelly goes, "Okay."
He's such a dick to him. It's like this old guy playing clarinet on the beach, and he's like, "What are you doing up there?" He's like, "Don't you play something happier or something like that?" It's like, what is it your business? Move along, weirdo.
And what's that guy's response? To make him a 50-50 partner in a nightclub that he freaking builds and puts all this money into.
Yeah, and he doesn't contribute any money as far as we know because he's broke,
no,
right?
He doesn't have any money.
He's saying he's poor.
Yeah, he found the location.
He basically that's it.
He found the location because it was on an album cover that Kira inspired in him.
And she basically, I guess, kind of said, right? I think it was her that said, "Why don't you?" Because he's like, we can't find a place, and she said, "Well, what about that place?" Or was it him that said it or her?
She said it.
Yeah, because she was skating in there. She's like, "I like to go in here and do my skating.
Yeah,
so nobody bothers me." So I think
she was skating in the dark in an abandoned building.
Yeah, no, I mean, of course. Don't you do that? Actually, tomorrow, that's my plan.
I know they tried to make her come off as like mysterious and coy, but she just came off really weird, like a big creepo.
It was a little strange.
Because he was trying to be like, "Oh, where do you live? What's your name?" And she would not give him a straight answer.
No, she was like, the same as my parents. Well, where do you live? In a house. It was like, whatever. Where? On the second floor. I was like, oh my God, you're infuriating.
Yeah, she was, it wasn't cute. It wasn't coy. It was just annoying. And I would have been like, I don't want to date you. You won't even tell me who you are.
Answer my questions. Oh, one quick little thing. So when he's asking about the girl and he goes up to his boss or whatever, he's like asking her like, "Who is this?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know." And then he goes over to he tries to find her he goes through the line of the photographer or whatever. Is that a grapefruit sitting on his boss's desk? I don't know. I have that written down. I don't know why it caught my eye, but he's sitting there and he's talking to him he's asking about it. And there's just this big old grapefruit sitting chilling on his desk. I'm like, that's just a weird prop. Who said, wait, the scene is not complete. Hold on. Now we're good. We got this. Okay, cool.
I don't know. I didn't notice a grapefruit.
It could have been something else, but it looked like a grapefruit to me. I don't know.
Maybe. And then, another thing that makes me think that this entire world was built for him. She skates by him because now he's out looking for her. He finally finds her. She skates by him. He goes up to some random lady and he's like, "Hey, I'm taking this moped." And she's like, "Okay." And he just drives or electric motor mini bike or whatever it was and just drives it off the pier or something.
And crashes it and drives it off the pier. And also, he's on a motorbike, okay? I know those things don't go super fast, but there's no way that you would not be able to keep up with someone on roller skates if you have a motorbike.
Well,
that does not make any freaking sense.
Well, with all the obstacles, did he even gain any time over just running?
Yeah, no. And he took the time to be like, "Can I take this?" From the girl with the bike. I don't know. That was just...
And she's like, "Yeah, sure." It's like...
No problem.
I'm telling you, this entire world is made for him.
So he crashes into the water.
Yep.
And gets out really easily because it looks like it's a pier. And I don't see any stairs. I don't see a ladder. But he ends up getting out really, really quickly and easily. And Gene Kelly is there. And he's kind of makes fun of him about it. And then he's off again, though. And he goes and he runs to try to find her again. And he ends up going past that auditorium, I think, right? After he leaves, because they go have coffee. And then he leaves again, right? He leaves. And then I think he finds her because he hears that song that she sings. He
talks to a guy whose van he painted. And the guy gives him a lift on the back of the van.
And the
guy goes, "Hey, we're going to take the scenic route." And he happens to drive right by this abandoned studio, this abandoned building.
And he's like, "Oh, this is the one from the album. That's right. Right."
Yeah, he goes in to investigate, and she's there dancing alone in the dark, or roller skating alone in the dark. And then they sing some songs.
Well, I think he hears the song. He hears a song in there, and then it's kind of following it. And there she is, doing her skating in the dark.
Yes.
And they talk, and then he's like, "I want to see you again." And she's like, "Okay, cool."
Well, I think she says, "Why?" He's like, "I want to see you again."
She's
like, "Why?" Yeah. He's like, "I don't know, so we can get to know each other better." And she says something else weird. But then they start singing and dancing.
Which they do all the time.
Yeah.
But then they hang out and they have a date and they go into... So now, was this a studio where they film music videos?
Yeah.
It is. Okay. Because at first I was like, it looked like the Gravitron. It had like the thing, the DJ booth like in the middle, and it was all dark. And I was like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, okay, this is like a studio where they film stuff. And he puts like, he does all this thing and all these things come from the sky and it's all very magical. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I thought this was funny. So like they're up on the stage and he goes and he takes her hand and they jump off. Right. And it's all in slow motion. And she's like, no. And she covers her eyes. I'm like, bitch, you can move at light speed and like fly into the sky or whatever. And I'm like, you're scared of a jump with your roller skates on? Like, I don't know. I thought that was hilarious because they're all like zooming around and they're like little light beams or whatever. She's like, no, I don't want to jump.
That scene, it's just weird because they're just skating around. There's like a bunch of props. There's like a train. And they give him umbrellas, and there's rain that comes down. Yeah, it's almost reminds me of like the mannequin scene.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw that. That's funny. That's exactly what I was thinking. I don't know. It was weird. Well, this whole movie was weird. So they skate, and neither of them are very good on the skates. I'm not gonna lie. Like they were not impressive to watch.
No.
And that's one of the problems I think with like the dancing and the singing, not the singing, but the dancing and stuff. Like none of it was really impressive. I wasn't like, wow, this is really cool, like really good. I think some of it was cool, like the tap dancing stuff with Gene Kelly, and I was impressed with when they had the vision for the club, and they have like half of the 40s and then they have the 80s like music or whatever, the rock and then like the 40s style. The 40s people, that was really impressive dancing. That was very good. I really enjoyed that. But for the most part, nobody was really great. Like it looked like they were very nervous on the skates. They didn't really seem to be comfortable. They didn't do anything cool. I'm like, I don't understand what the freaking thing with the roller skates is. Like, just take them off the roller skates and let them just dance together or something. I'm like, they look really scared. And apparently she like really hurt herself during that scene. The dance
fractured her coccyx or something like that.
Like she ended up, I'm like, yeah.
She was pretty stiff on roller skates, but she can move. I was actually impressed with some of the stuff she's a real chameleon. I really think it was cool that she dressed up in like 20 or 30 different styles throughout this movie. And I think she looked great in most of them. She did the country thing and she did the rock and roll thing and the 40s thing. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool.
The end part, I thought that was.
I liked it.
I didn't like it, but she dressed like a peasant for most of it when it was just her. I was like, why is she dressed like a farm peasant?
She looked like she was wearing a bedspread, a bed sheet.
It was so frumpy.
She got shot in the face with Homer Simpson's makeup gun.
I don't understand when it was just her. It was like she's wearing these frumpy peasant clothes. Like she looked so cute when she was in the 40s.
That's what I'm saying. Like the army uniform, right?
Yeah, it looked cute. But then like they have in the whole movie, they have her dressed like a poor person. Like, I don't know. It was just like a really weird outfit. Like, and that was her. When it was her like the whole time. She just looked, it was like really awful outfit.
It looked like a bedsheet to me. But speaking of the dancers in the 40s, there's a dancer that you should recognize who was in that scene and also showed up at the end in the Xanadu section. He was wearing a zoot suit and he did hand movements up by his ear. No?
No.
Adolfo Shabadoo Quinones?
I don't.
Ozone from Breakin' 2?
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I don't have those people emblazoned into my brain. Mm-hmm. I should, but well, yeah, I mean, he was a dancer. That's cool that he did that though. Good for him.
Yeah. So Shabadoo was in this. I think he choreographed the like pseudo breakdancing moves at the end and probably had something to do with some of the moves in the 40s section as well. But yeah, that's how he got his start.
Yeah, well, that was really good. I was very impressed with the 40s in that scene, and then I don't know what the hell happened with the 80s one. We have a girl writhing on a soundboard tied up in wire. I was like, "Is this sexy?" I was like, "I'm not really sure what's going on right now. Is she getting electrocuted?"
It was so ugly, red and black. It was just like terrible looking.
I don't know. That was no the dancing and everything. It was not good. So,
and that was the Tubes, the band, who had a couple of hits in the 80s.
It was? I always thought it was just all ELO because I know they did the music, so I assumed it was that.
Well, okay, so yeah. Surprise, surprise, and this is leading into a larger conversation, but except for the song Xanadu, none of the other ELO songs were written for the movie. They were already existing and just licensed. which answered a question that I had. And I was hoping that I would be the first one to realize it, or at least it wouldn't be documented anywhere. But then I went on IMDb Trivia and I found it because there was a couple instances where I was like, this song doesn't match what's going on screen. I bet you they just had to kill some time, or they had a song that they had to use. So they like sang it. And one of those was in the cartoon when they turn into cartoons. And I'm like, this doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the movie. Why are they all of a sudden cartoon characters now?
Usually they needed more time or needed a song or something, right?
They had a song and they were like, well, we don't know how to fit the song into the plot, so we'll just turn them into cartoons and play this song. The other time is at the end, so I guess we'll talk about it because it's not like we're leading up to the plot, the conclusion or anything. But
there's no big reveal.
when he's talking to Zeus, which is crazy, but when he's talking to Zeus and then he leaves and she sings that song, the fact that she sings that song makes no sense because she should be singing it to him based on the lyrics. Right. And she's just standing still singing a song in like a black void. And I was like, this song doesn't go here. Well, it turns out that song was supposed to go in a different part of the movie that they cut, but they wanted to have the song in there because I think she had to have a certain number of songs. So they put it in that scene, even though it really doesn't match what's happening. And I thought I had figured that out, but it's actually in the IMDb Trivia. So I can't take credit for it.
Well, it's cool that you recognize it anyway. I just found that to be, I was like, what's the point of this? Like, why are we just staring at her singing a song? I mean, nothing's happening. It was a lot of that kind of stuff going on in this movie. It just seemed like it was a very kind of poorly put together, to be honest. Like, it wasn't. Yeah.
Well, she did say that the script was written while they were filming, so.
Oh, well, that actually makes a lot of sense then.
Yeah. Until we talk about what the budget was, we'll talk about that later. That might surprise you.
Well, I can tell you, I know that it was definitely more than a certain amount because it cost something. I forget what it was. I forget what I read. I only read like what it was, and it cost a certain amount just for something. I don't know. I'll have to try to remember.
This is one of those movies where the budget spiraled out of control, and I don't understand how that happened because the special effects were terrible.
Yeah.
And didn't seem like there was really a lot to pay for.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, besides Gene Kelly, I mean, Olivia
Gene Kelly said he only did it because it was close by his house.
It was close to his house. I guess he's like, I got a couple of days. Why not? I
love Gene Kelly. Doesn't he have like the warmest smile though?
He is just too cute and sweet. Yes, he does.
He just lights up a room when he smiles, you know?
And he really he seemed like he had fun. Like, I don't know if he enjoyed it or not, but it didn't show if he was like frustrated or whatever, because he really did seem like he had a good time.
He probably didn't care. It was his last film, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was.
Poor Gene Kelly. And they put him on roller skates, and he was better than Olivia Newton-John on roller skates.
He was
at 68 years old.
Like, wait a minute. I'm like, is he actually roller skating? And I was like, holy shit, he really is. Good for him.
Yeah, he was always known as a very athletic dancer. And he would always complain that, like, people would call him graceful, but they would mean it sort of derogatory. And he's like, baseball players are graceful, wrestlers are graceful. Like, he compared himself to sports figures because he was very competitive. And he was like, I don't see why it's any different. But he was a very athletic guy, even at 68. But yeah, he just has the cool. I think he's such a good looking man with a beautiful smile, you know.
Yeah, he definitely has a genuinely warm face.
Yeah.
So that cartoon apparently was like Don Bluth's entryway into cartoon. Like, it was the first time that he had done, I guess, his first famous thing. And then we all know what came after, you know, like later on we had Land Before Time, which was one of the best movies ever.
There's like 12 of those movies. They just keep making them.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the first one. I don't know what's going on anymore. Like, I mean, maybe 2. I think I remember 2. And then after that, I was like, I think in 2000 they were still made. I was like, why are they still doing these movies? Like, that's enough. I thought it was pretty cool. That was like him, you know, because he definitely was part of my childhood for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but everyone just loved roller skating in this movie.
It was a lot of it.
Were there really that many people roller skating all the time? Like on the sidewalks and the street and buildings?
I don't know. I mean, maybe in like LA in the 80s, maybe it was a big thing. I'm not really sure, because when I was a kid, like, you know, we went to roller skating rinks like in the 80s and stuff, but I don't really remember walking down the street and just seeing people with their quads going around. Like, you know, I don't know. I feel like in movies it's a big thing in the 80s. People are always a lot of movies have people like on roller skates. But I don't remember it being such a thing in real life.
No, I don't remember either. I mean, maybe because we grew up near a boardwalk, so growing up, I saw people roller skating on the boardwalk, but that's about it.
I don't even know if I remember seeing that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still have a pair of quads. I love roller skating, but I just don't think it was as big a thing as it seemed like it was. If you were to watch a movie from the 80s and not be from like this planet, you would think that everyone just had skates strapped to their feet all the time in the 80s.
Yeah. And especially in like a dance movie, because a lot of them, especially at the end, they were very low energy because you could tell they were just sort of trying to stay balanced when they had like all these groups of people dancing around. And they were just kind of like very stiff because it's like, well, you know, you can't do a whole lot unless you're a professional skater. You can't get 100 people in the room and be like, hey, we're going to choreograph a skate scene. They're going to be very stiff.
Which was, I'm sure, because I was actually thinking about it. I was like, I must have been, interesting. I wonder what that casting call was like. Like they needed to really find people that were very, very good skaters, that were actually like roller disco people, like that could do all of these things. Because you put skates on an average person, they're not going to be able to do that. Maybe they'll be able to go around in a circle, but they're not going to be able to do all that stuff that, these people are doing, all those dances and stuff.
No, yeah, absolutely. So did you see when they when they're building the club and they're basically finished their construction, they lay out what I can only guess is like craft services for the workers? Did you see what they were like, what food they were putting on the table? It was a picnic table. When they were celebrating, they had champagne and they were like, oh, we're finished with the construction of the renovations. And there's a picnic table outside and there's a single bowl of fruit and a plate of crackers for like what looks to be about 40 people who were working on that building.
Well, they spent all their money on making the club. They didn't have anything left. So they're like, here's a piece of melon and a cracker. Go away.
Yeah. And then at that point, they tell Gene Kelly that his threads aren't cool enough, man.
I was just going to say this, the whole store scene is absolutely batshit. From like Panama Jack opening the door, I was like, why is he dressed like that? And then, what in the hell is going on in that store? There's all these people everywhere and hanging off stuff. And it was just, I don't know, it was just crazy. I was like, what is happening in this movie?
Yeah,
I don't even understand what's going on right now.
It's so funny because it's like the worst scene to watch, but it happens to be my favorite song of the entire movie all over the world. So I'm so conflicted.
Really like that song too. Okay, yeah. I was like, I don't know if I should say I like it because I feel like I've said, I didn't really like this movie and I don't want to be all. But no, I think that movie that song is actually really good. ELO
is one of my top 20 bands of all time.
Yeah,
maybe even top 15. And that's one of my top 3 ELO songs of all time. Like I listen to a lot of the ELO songs from Xanadu, but that one in particular is like one of my favorite ELO songs.
It's a good one for sure. I really like it.
Yeah, but they tell him he's got to. I don't understand these scenes that keep happening in movies where a guy will keep coming out of the dressing room and they keep shaking their head, and I'm like, he looks fine. And then all of a sudden they all agree that like this is the outfit, and it's like, okay.
Oh, the fringy one, like they had like fringes everywhere, and they're like, and they seem to approve of that one. I was like, no, go back in there and change, Gene Kelly. You look terrible. And I think it was the same jacket that she wore at the end. The fringy jacket when she was doing the Western thing. I don't know. It looked like
you know what? Jacket. I wrote that down. I was like, is she wearing the same cowboy outfit that he put on when he was shopping?
So I think they ran out of money and they were like, listen, guys, we're really going to need to start recycling these things. So be careful when you change. Don't rip anything.
But then I think he just ends up wearing a tux. They're like, oh, man, you need new threads. And he gets a bunch of new clothes, but on opening night, he just wears a tux. It's like they made tuxes in the 40s. That's not like fashion.
Yeah,
that's just a tux.
A lot of ridiculous outfits like purple sequins and like all ridiculous garbage.
But when he goes to see Sonny, who's sitting on the beach because he's all frustrated, he's all upset that he can't. All right, so turns out that Kira falls in love with him, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. But basically, she can't be there for the opening. She was just there to inspire them. Now that the club is made, she's got to go back to whatever, and he's like, no, I want you to be there. And since she can't be there, then he doesn't want to be at the opening. So
my God.
Gene Kelly goes to confront him on the beach, and he's wearing like a wool jacket, wool suit and a hat at the freaking beach. It looks like it's like 90 degrees out.
That part annoyed me too, though, because I'm like, you don't not go, stop being a whiny brat. Like you don't not go to the opening of your own club. Like, are you kidding me?
You did.
Suck it up. Buttercup and like put some clothes on and go. Like, I don't know. That just pissed me off. He's like, I can't be there because if she's not there, it just doesn't mean anything and blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
yeah, what? You already did next to nothing to make this place happen. And you're a 50% owner and now you're not even going to be there for opening night.
Yeah,
like, that's not very responsible. It's not a very good business partner either.
He kind of looked like Val Kilmer and Heath Ledger had a baby.
That guy?
Yeah.
Oh, when that guy is staring at his boss, he gives him the eyes of like a psycho killer. Yeah. That guy that guy is scared. I would not mess with that guy.
He didn't emote a lot with his face. I felt like he was very stiff. I don't know if he's ever done anything. I don't know who he was. I don't know if he's done anything else, but
he was in the Warriors. If the Warriors was not 1979, if it was 1980, we would do that. That would be my next pick. But
we just
it's not
missed
80s, yeah, unfortunately. But it's a very terrible movie about
gangs, right?
Gangs, yeah. These two gang members
yeah.
get framed for the murder of another gang member, and they have to make it home through the city, through different gang neighborhoods. It's nuts. But anyway, she tells him that she's a muse and that she can't be there for the opening, and it's a shame because she fell in love with him. But again, she didn't really inspire him to be a painter. She inspired him to help Danny open a nightclub, and that seemed like more like it was his dream. It almost seems like she was Danny's muse again.
That's what that's what I was thinking. I'm like, it's weird because it's like she appeared to him, but it almost seemed like she made it so that he could meet Danny so that he could achieve his dream.
Yeah.
And it could be something that he might be happy with, but it did not do anything for his art career at all.
No.
It's not like he painted it or designed it or did a mural on the wall. He didn't do anything. Like he didn't do anything but chase after this girl and like whine about it like the whole time.
He gave up art. He had a muse and she convinced him to give up his art, which is pretty awesome.
So usually not how muses work. They're supposed to inspire you to do live out your dream or do whatever, right? Like what you want to do.
So she tells him that she's a muse and she can't stay because her job's done. And he gets upset and starts skating around to like very broody music.
His little itty bitty shorts.
What are those, gym shorts?
I don't know. It was the 80s. Guys wore short shorts. I'm glad that's a thing that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, okay. Because that brings me to my next point. Okay, so he goes skating along because she left, and he finds this mural that she's in because all the sisters are back in the mural now. And he's staring at it for a minute, and then he backs up, and he just full steam goes at it and crashes into it and then breaks through into another plane of existence or something.
Okay. Sorry. This part I can't say I had so much trouble with it because I've had trouble with most of it, but this part made no sense because I don't believe, and I'm trying to like, you remember back if he had any idea about the mural. He did not.
Nope.
Right? Okay. So he sees it and he automatically is like, that's her. First of all, doesn't look like her. That could be a mural of anything. It does not have to be her, but for some reason he knows it's her.
That's right. Yeah.
And then he decides, I don't know, like I'm going to just smash into. At first I thought he was going to try to hurt himself. I was like,
I think he was trying to commit suicide.
I was like, is this like a turn is this like a dark turn? Like, is this going to be like, he's going to try to kill himself because she's not around anymore?
I'm convinced he tried to bash his brains out on her likeness.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that. But like, I was like, what does he do? And then he just goes into weird, 80s lights dementia world. Like, I don't know what the hell that was supposed to be. Like, that was them trying to save money by making the place where Zeus lives just a black void. Like that takes some fiscal conservation to it takes some guts to think that people are going to be like satisfied with that though too. I was just like, where is he? What is happening? And I'm like, is that God? And then I was like, oh wait, this must be Zeus because she's a Greek mythology, whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't even really know what to say about that part. I just was so confused. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on right now. This is just, that's it. I have nothing else.
The reason why I think that he was trying to kill himself is because if you were going to go talk to Zeus, would you wear short gym shorts and roller skates and a Hawaiian shirt? Like, you don't dress like that.
That's
you
what
think
I'm
you're talking
saying.
to a god.
It was like, did he know he was going to go into this other land? Or that's why I'm not sure about that part. Like, was he trying to kill himself, or did he get a sense? Like, did she, speak to him through the mural and he said like, oh, that's her. Like, I should come in here. Or,
no. It's not
no
like faith was a theme in this movie either. It wasn't like, you got to have faith. You got to take that leap. It's like, no. And it was not.
Just bash your face into a wall really fast.
Wind up on the other side. And he's like, he's trying to tell Zeus out. He's like, listen here, Zeus. Yeah. Kira's coming back with me. And Zeus is like, no, that's not how it works.
Like, listen, all right, I'm going to tell you. And he's like, yeah, no, that's not it. That's not going to happen.
And then Kira's like, but does anyone care how I feel about my feelings? And Zeus is like, what are those? She's like, oh, you remember we learned about feelings in our mortal history class. It's like, what?
Obviously, the Greek gods and goddesses and, whatever, they take classes to learn about.
Who's teaching a history class to Zeus? It's just really weird. And he had a British accent. Yeah. Oh, she had an Australian accent, which I think was hilarious. She's like, good day, my name's Olivia. I'm a Greek god.
I thought she was trying to hide it, but then I was like, nah, she's not even trying. No, it doesn't even matter.
Doesn't even matter. And Zeus had an English accent, like a real British one. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. And then so Zeus is like, no, you can't have Kira, and kicks her out. And then she just sits there in the black void and sings this song, asking her lover to suspend her in time so that she has a moment, she can freeze time and be with him forever.
Right.
It's like, Sonny left, right? You see that. He's not there anymore.
He's gone. You're alone now.
So, but apparently that song was meant to take place while she told him that she was a muse and had to leave. She was like, I can't stay, I got to leave, I'm a muse. And then she sings that song to him, like, let's try to expand this moment for as long as possible. So
that would have made more sense.
It would have made more sense.
Then the TV scene with the TV, she's like, look, what I can do. I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, even if you're a muse, you can't affect people that are on television somewhere else. Like, you don't, I mean, what?
That's
like,
a whole nother set of powers. Like, that's almost more interesting than inspiring people.
It is kind of much cooler than what you're supposed to be doing, but that part made no sense at all. So we could have skipped that. They could have totally done the song instead. Not that the song was much better, but I mean, at least it would have made more freaking sense.
Yeah, that song got nominated for, well, this whole movie inspired the Razzies. I don't know if you know that. But the Razzies were inspired. The muse of the Razzies was Xanadu.
How ironic.
Yeah. And they got dragged for some stuff I don't think they should have got dragged for. Worst director, fine. But since I guess it was the first year, it also got nominated for like worst actor, worst actress, worst song. And I don't know. I happen to like the music to this movie. All the songs.
Some of it was okay.
And I even like that song. I think that song's not great, but it's good enough. So I don't know. Then Zeus and his wife or I don't know if it's his wife or whatever, but in the closed caption, they refer to them as Zeus and woman. It's like, you mean Hera, I'm guessing?
That's what I was going to say. Was it supposed to be Hera or like, who was it? I'm not really sure, but they made it sound like there were a couple because she's all like, oh dear, like rules are meant to be broken, kind of whatever.
And they kept getting mixed up like past and future and moment and forever. And I don't know. I don't buy that because she's like, oh, let her have this one moment. Or is it forever? I get those mixed up.
I get those, yeah.
It's like, no, but there's causality. There's like a difference to a moment and forever. It's not just because you're a god, you don't understand the concept of time. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It's like, I think you would actually have more of a concept. And to be honest, if you.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're reigning over all of that, you'd kind of understand the difference between forever and a moment. But
yeah.
I don't know, that made sense anyway, so
he leaves because he doesn't think that she's going to be there, but he decides to go to the club anyway because I guess Gene Kelly convinces him, and they're there, and Zeus has a change of heart and allows her to go to the club. I don't know if it's just for that one night or not. That's why the ending's so confusing because it makes it sound like, hey, let's just let her go to the club this one night. Or is one night mean forever? I don't know. I get confused. And then it's like, okay, so which is it? Because now I don't know how the movie ends. Do they get to be together or do they not get to be together? I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah, so she shows up there and she does this kind of medley of songs in different styles.
This club, first of all, because before she shows up, they do like a 5 or 10 minute montage of dancing in this club. This club doesn't look like either one of their ideas when they were imagining it when they first walked in there.
not at
It
all.
doesn't look like a 40s place. It doesn't look like an 80s freaking whatever that was.
Like a rock club or whatever that was supposed to be. Yeah.
Rock club where people get killed. It looks like a roller derby ring because it's circular.
It is.
And there's just people skating around in circles, singing songs, and I don't know, that's about it really. There's
Well,
some
that's what
go-go
I had in my
dancers.
notes.
Huh?
I was like, I had my notes. I was like, what kind of club is this? I'm like, is it a roller skating rink? Because the dance floor, quote, whatever, is a circular thing around like a big couch. I don't really know, whatever that is. Or I don't know, was a stage in the middle?
Yeah, it was a stage.
Okay, a big stage in the middle, and there's like, it's circular. We don't really see a lot of the rest of the club.
No.
I feel like for budget reasons, probably.
Would you go to that club?
I mean, I'd go roller skating on the circular. No, I don't know. I don't really understand what it is. And there's just like roller skating, and then there's all this weird. I don't know. I couldn't figure out what kind of club it would be. Like, what do they do there? Do they always roller skate all the time?
I don't know, but
or do they have bands playing? Or like I couldn't quite figure out because you're right. It had nothing to do with their what they imagined when they had that like fantasy. It was not anything like that.
No, they're just people skating around in a circle around the stage and doing like modern dance from every different style of
Xanadu
dance.
Song.
Huh?
That Xanadu song.
Yeah.
I was like, enough already. Like they just
when they first show that club, people are doing like a hand jive thing. They're like clapping along and stuff. And if you can't, I was trying to listen to the music that's playing behind it, and I swear to God, it's like clown music from a circus. It's like big top music.
I don't think I noticed that. I was just so irritated. I was like, enough already. It's so repetitive and it was so long. I'm like, oh my God.
Then she shows up, and she basically does like a woman review, complete with like costume changes 10 different times. I don't know. I thought she looked fantastic in all those outfits. And you could tell that she was in her element in this scene. It was like finally,
yeah.
I always called her ONJ. I'm not going to. Olivia Newton-John gets to be Olivia Newton-John, and she looked like she was in her element. She knew what she was doing. She breezed through so many different styles, very easily, I thought. And
it was like she was finally comfortable. I felt like a lot of it she wasn't really too comfortable with.
Yeah.
But then, like in this one, she was. I mean, she's super cute. I mean, especially when she was young, she was adorable. Absolutely adorable. I didn't have a problem with I don't have a problem with her. I just didn't like the style change medley thing going on. It was like, first it was like rock and it was kind of, not a great song. And then it was like country. And I was just, I don't know. I just didn't like, I didn't like that whole.
To me, she looked so good in the leopard. They made her like all sweaty with the big hair and like the leopard.
And she did the 80s one, like
She looked good. Yeah, that was a good one. Then she did the country. Then she gets dressed up in these like beads for hair for like a second. And then at the end, she converts back to her like bed sheet.
Her peasant clothes.
And she's just standing there again. And then she disappears. She like shoots up into space.
Right.
And everything turns dark. And it's like, okay. So she just came to do a show and then she left. I thought she was there to be with Sonny. But she just came to put on a show and then she bounced.
Well, I don't even have in my notes, like, did that actually happen? Like, did that whole thing actually happen?
Did they establish any sort of dreaming in this movie?
No, I mean, not really, but it was kind of like when it was over, it was just everything was totally different. Like, so she finished she leaves, she blasts off or wherever she goes. And then everything is so different from how it was. It was just people kind of dancing and no one's roller skating anymore. It's just like very normal. So I'm like, did that really happen? Was that like fantasy? Was that like,
just suck the energy out of that club?
I guess so people are just dancing and then they just kind of like have regular music playing and he's sitting down and getting, I don't know. It was just, and he's like, Gene Kelly comes over. He's like, hey, you okay? I was just like, maybe that was like a fantasy or maybe, I don't know. I mean, I guess it really did happen. Nothing else makes sense in this movie. So I guess it's totally possible.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so then she disappears and he's like, oh, that was weird. I thought she was going to be here for my opening, but she wasn't. She just danced around and sang and then left. And then she shows up dressed as a waitress. And he's like, oh, it's you. And then like you said, fade to black. And
she's like, what?
They keep talking, but you can't hear them. And that's it. Credits roll.
That's literally what I have in my notes. It's funny because I didn't take a lot of notes from this movie because I just feel like I'd be writing what the fuck a lot. So I really don't. I really only had like about a page, maybe a page and a half of like a small, a notebook. Because I was like, what am I going to take notes about? I'm like, there's so much nonsense going on. I'm like, I feel like, you'll say something, I'll say something, and that'll just trigger something. So I was like, I don't even really have to write that much for this movie.
I took a lot of notes, but I basically said them all. But when it got to the Xanadu part where there was just chaos, I just wrote, it's too much. I can't take it all. I couldn't write it down. I couldn't process it.
That's really funny because I found myself writing like, I don't know what's going on. Like so many times I'm like, what? And I would just put like, what ? And then like, what is happening?
Oh, I missed this note here. Guys with perms.
Oh.
Several men with perms in this movie.
Guys with perms and guys in very tight leotards.
Very tightly. Yeah.
During those dancing scenes in the 80s, I was like, oh, okay. We're doing that. That's happening.
Did you ever think you would see Olivia Newton-John dressed in a U.S. Army uniform tap dancing with Gene Kelly?
I know, honestly. And I thought that, honestly, it was really cute. I really liked that.
Yeah.
When he was remembering her, I thought it was very cute. I actually, probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
I can only imagine that Gene Kelly thought this was hilarious, this entire thing.
I hope he had a good sense of humor about the whole thing.
I hope so too. It's not a very good send-off for him.
No. But that's not what he's remembered for. So, you know what I mean?
That's true.
I didn't even know he was in the movie. I had no clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
So anything else? Anything you want to talk about?
I don't know. I think we covered it. I mean, that's all I have in my notes. This is one of those movies that took me a few times to, it took me a little bit to get through. I definitely paused it every 20, 25 minutes. Went to go do something else. And then I was like, all right, back to it.
Yeah.
It was, I found the musical numbers too long for the most part and not good enough to warrant that amount of time.
No, I agree.
If that makes any sense. So I was getting a little bit bored with that kind of stuff, but I'm glad I saw it. I'm not, there's really very few movies in the world or in my life that I'm mad that I watched it. I really don't get angry for watching something. Like when you suggested this movie, I was definitely like, oh God, really? Like I have to watch this. But if nothing else, and for, just to know what it was like, what it was. And
it's a piece of
other people
80s,
have seen.
80s
and
history.
It's a pretty, yeah, exactly. Like it's definitely I'm not going to say classic, but it's definitely an infamous, movie for sure. So, I'm glad that I saw it. Mm-hmm. I won't watch it again, but.
So, all right. So usually we say this to the end, but, and we could do your prediction on box office at the end, but I want to talk about the budget for a second. Mm-hmm. So knowing that in the mid 80s, Over the Top cost $3 million, we've done some other movies that have cost like $2-3 million. What do you think, if you had to guess, the budget for Xanadu was?
Well, I'm going to tell you that I know for sure there's definitely $1 million there because I can't remember. I was reading some of the trivia and something cost $1 million. And I can't remember if it was the club or there was something specific. And I can't remember. My memory is so terrible that actually cost $1 million. So I know that there's $1 million down for just one thing. So I'm going to say that 1980, this movie.
This is the earliest of all the movies we've done. This is basically on the cusp of the 70s.
Jeez. I think it's something, I'm going to say it's something ridiculous. I want to say it's like 8-9 million, maybe.
Mm-hmm. 8 or 9 million.
Something like that. Because I want to say that it went, maybe not that much. Let's say 6 million.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind was made in 1977. Big budget movie. Cost $20 million, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. 1977, this was done 2 or 3 years later. You're going to say your first guess was, 8 or 9, then you dropped it to 6?
Let's say 8 million.
The budget for this movie was $20 million.
Holy freaking Christ. For what? They spent $20 million on that movie? Yeah,
that's probably, it's probably like $70 or $80 million today.
I feel bad for them. Like that sucks. I do. I'm not totally being serious. Like that's really awful. Like $20 million for that movie. And that there's really not that famous people in it. there was not even that many actors in it. I mean, except for the dancers, but you're not paying them $1 million. Like you're not giving them a lot of money. Mm-hmm. There was barely any set. Look, what were you paying for? A stage, a couple of stages, or wow? I don't understand. What the hell did they spend all that money on?
Also, how much of a mindfuck is it that 1945 that Gene Kelly kept talking about in this movie was 35 years prior to the movie? Mm-hmm. This movie is 40 years old. So this movie is older now to us than it was than 1945 was to the people in that freaking movie.
Yep.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Okay, so let's do Rotten Tomatoes. We'll do box office at the end, but Rotten Tomatoes, got any guesses?
Oh, Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see. Tomato meter, I'm going to say 23%.
23%, okay.
And for audience, I'm going to say 29%.
Oh, wow. Well, let's see how right you are.
I'm probably not. I don't know.
You were very, very close on the tomato meter.
Oh, tomato, okay.
But you, for some reason, don't think people like this movie, and they do.
I do, because I don't understand what they like about it.
And it's 19,000 people. It's not like 5 people, Wow. Excuse it. It's like this is a good sample size.
I'm sorry, people. You like your Xanadu. I don't get it. But okay, it's good for you. I mean,
that's a good picture of him, Gene Kelly.
Oh yeah, that is a good picture.
He looks buff, right?
He's a handsome man. Michael Beck. That's the guy who played Sonny, right?
Yeah, he still looks like a psycho.
He kind of reminds me of the guy from Poltergeist. Yikes! Well, this that picture is a little creepy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael Beck. I don't know. Maybe.
And here's their picture of ONJ is with Olivia Newton-John. And he is stealing all the thunder in this picture. By the way,
of course he is, because he's John Travolta.
Oh man! All right, so let's see.
Well, wait.
Yeah.
Hold on. You need to read that first one right there.
Xanadu cannot possibly be described as a good movie, but it can't be recommended to those who can tolerate large amounts of intravenous marzipan. I don't even know what that means. Marzipan, isn't that like a baking thing? Is that like an almond flavored cake topping? Or is that fondant?
Okay, I wish people listening could see that I'm crying so hard right now. Because that's first of all, Tom Shales, I love you because it's hilarious. So yes, marzipan. Well, I can't stand almond flavored anything, and marzipan is basically an almond. It's just almond paste. It's disgusting and horrible. And I love that he describes it like that, because I feel like marzipan is one of those things that you either really love, you either love it, or you think it's the nastiest thing ever. So I just love that that's amazing. That's probably one of the best.
Is that what you do? You think he's comparing it to marzipan because he thinks marzipan sucks?
I think he knows that marzipan is one of those things it's like 50. It's like you either love it or hate it. No one's like, I can deal with marzipan. Like, no, you love it or you think it's vile.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think that's very funny that he's doing that. That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. Wow. Thank you for that. Like, I just laughed so hard.
Stupendously bad. Variety staff, not even attributed to a single person. The entire staff of Variety.
We all just said the same, just unanimously. That was it. So it doesn't really seem like it's like the credit. All of these reviews are not good. So I'm surprised it's 58%. That's weird.
She says Xanadu is a total confection. It's 100% ridiculous. Very little of it makes sense. They really should have nixed the idea of finding a Gibb lookalike. They were going to get what's his name? One of the Gibbs from
Andy or
Andy. What? Yeah, I think it was Andy from what's that band?
Bee Gees.
Bee Gees, yeah, and whatever. And went with the song and dance band instead. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
The excessive effects and music are the main protagonists in the story. The best part is choreography. So if the effects and the music are the main protagonists, who's the villain? Who's the antagonist in this movie? Reality?
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know, actual like real life. Yeah, exactly. So it's just weird because none of these reviews are good. So I'm confused about where the 58% came from, but whatever.
Well, there's the ones with the tomatoes are supposed to be higher than 3. So it just means Well, that's audience score. The critic score was 27. 27% of the critics gave it a 3 or higher. Engagingly surrealistic in a pop glitter way. That's a good one. What could have possessed the people involved in Xanadu to go ahead with this utter nonsense?
Sounds like something I would say. Oh, do we have our mustache guy?
Yeah, let's
Manuel, what's his name?
Manuel Levy.
Manuel Levy.
Oh, there he goes.
Oh.
2 out of 5.
Yeah, he just scored it.
I think he did leave reviews, but we just can't see them on Rotten Tomatoes anymore. I got to find a way to pull his from now on. Roger Ebert. Xanadu is a mushy and limp musical fantasy, so insubstantial it keeps evaporating before our eyes. Like, that's a hard sentence to read, actually.
But he doesn't like any of the movies that we do, so.
No.
Great tunes fill this flavorful bubblegum movie.
Yeah. Can't be joyful fun with a wee bit too much cheese.
That's it. That's why we're doing this right now. You're right. Lots of cheese.
There's never been a movie quite like this, and there never will be again, and that may not be a bad thing.
I have to agree with you, James.
Let's see if there's any good audience reviews, and then we'll do the box office. This horribly dated 1980 fantasy is such a trashy mess with no structure that it doesn't surprise me that the script was written during filming, and even if it has some few nice songs, it is shocking how they threw so much money into something that looks so tacky and cheap.
I have to say I agree with that, though. Like,
wow,
I mean,
way to hold back, Carlos.
That's a lot of money for that movie, and that movie did not need that much money, and there really was no structure to the story. I mean, let's be real. It's very weak.
This movie is generally regarded as one of the worst movies ever, but it does have some good music, so I gave it 1 star. So this guy was going to give it 0 stars, which isn't even possible in Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not, yeah. But I allowed it.
But it's like it's like, they won't let me leave 0 stars? Well, okay, well then I'll leave 1 and I'll say it's because of the music.
I'll say it's because I like the music.
Nothing special except one good song. Ooh, why don't you say what song that is? There's several good songs in this movie, jerk. All right. So, yeah, 58% audience score. All right, so box office. It cost $20 million to make this monstrosity. I think it was supposed to be like 4 or 5, and it like somehow ballooned out of control.
I don't understand that. Like, what they
had to have been
spent it on
the Xanadu Club, right?
What?
It had to have been the club. And what else is there?
I mean, but that wasn't even, what they spend money on? Like they had like the stage and the circle part, like the people skating. They showed the bar for like a second when she did that little, but they're like, it wasn't anything like amazing or any kind of like great sets or lights. It's like they showed it. They could have filmed that. If you're, a decent director, you'll be able to take a banquet hall and be able to make it look like that.
That's true.
Like they didn't need a lot of space. So I don't know what in the hell they paid for.
That is true. And again, they saved money by portraying Mount Olympus or heaven or wherever they were supposed to be on the other side of
in
reality,
a dark room,
as just black with rotoscoped like lasers.
It wasn't. I don't know. I don't know what they spent the money on. So, how much money did this movie make? God, I mean, the budget is so high. It's going to be not proportionate anyway, no matter what it is. But $2 million. $2
million. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, $5 million.
$5 million. They marketed the hell out of this. ONJ was a big name. I keep calling her ONJ. Olivia Newton-John. This sounds so bad, right?
It's just, no, I mean, that's how I referred to her in my notes, but, we're not friends, so I don't call her that.
I think I'm just betraying myself as a big fan of hers, but okay. Gene Kelly was a big draw. Olivia Newton-John was a big draw. This movie made $22.7 million.
Stop it.
Office. Yes.
No, so they actually didn't, so then they went over their budget.
They made back their production budget, but they probably did not make back their marketing budget.
I am shocked. So did people really like it then? No. They just went to see it.
It was a spectacle. It was like a big thing,
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, good for them then. I mean, at least they didn't completely go flat ass broke.
Yeah. If only they had kept their budget in check, this would have been.
They would have made it would have been a hit.
Yeah. It would have been very profitable.
Yeah. Well, That I was way off on that. I guess because I just didn't understand any of it, and I just thought it was so. But you know what? I also wasn't.
You wouldn't have gone seeing this movie if you were a teenager.
I mean, if
20s.
I was like, I was going to say, if I was a teenager, then like, would I have gone? Maybe, because I would have grown up in a totally different time, and like, it would have meant something different to me. Watching it now in 2020 is a little bit different, so it's like you can't really hold it accountable for like the time, things were different then. So if I was 15 or 16 and at that, when that movie came out, maybe, I mean, I might have been really interested in it. I don't know.
Did you see the critics' consensus here? Not even spandex and over-the-top musical numbers can save Xanadu from questionable acting, unimpressive effects, and a story unencumbered by logic.
Yes. I mean, that is definitely the biggest, like unencumbered by logic is a really awesome, that's like a perfect phrase for this, because they just didn't care. They were like, yeah, this makes no sense. So let's just let it, none of it's going to make sense. Even when we're on Earth and normal like Earth things are happening, we're just going to be like, nah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we need to do our personal ratings. Adam, I'm going to let you go first, since obviously you have a little more history with this movie. So why don't you go ahead and...
I'm going to give this movie, surprisingly, a 7.
Okay. And this is your personal score.
This is my personal,
right?
yeah. This isn't the cheese factor. This is my actual liking of this movie. Because I, now having seen it again for the first time in 25 years, will probably put this on again at some point in the next few months, just to listen to the music, which I know is stupid because I can play the soundtrack, but... Some of the visuals are very nostalgic for me. But you don't get to
see Olivia Newton-John being all adorable, so.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that's adorable that you're going to do that. So what about your cheese factor?
My cheese factor on this is, I want to say an 8. I know it probably should be higher because it seems like a defining cheesy movie. But in my definition of what cheese is, I just don't feel that this... I don't feel like this is... I mean, 8 is obviously a high number, but I just don't feel it's the cheesiest movie we've done or the cheesiest movie that was made. I think what I would possibly confuse with cheesiness was just maybe bad plot, bad filmmaking, bad special effects. And I don't know if I can contribute that to cheese. So...
Well, this is one of the reasons that, we are coming up on our 20th episode. So yes. I definitely think that we're going to have to do a little special and talk about the cheese, because I think it comes up so much that we have so much in common about movies and the way we feel about things. But we also, I think we do have differences in our definition of what cheesy means. Yeah.
So announcement, we are doing a bonus episode for celebrate our 20th podcast. And we'll be discussing what cheese means to us, because it really isn't defined. I feel like a lot of people use that word, but not everyone agrees on it. And I think it's a good discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my personal score is going to be a 3. The plot was very weak. Really, there really wasn't too much of one. The musical numbers were often boring. There was 2 that I liked. The rest of them I kind of found like a little bit too long, a little bit too drawn out. It could have been because of time, because the plot was so weak that they decided like, you're going to make these musical numbers really, really long, or maybe they were trying to have it be something that it wasn't. I don't know, but that kind of bothered me. And I did find myself saying "what the fuck" a lot. So I feel like if I'm saying that a lot, and I don't really know what's going on, I just can't give it a good score. That being said, again, I'm not mad that I watched it. I thought it was interesting, and I'm glad that I was able to see it, because I probably, if it wasn't for this, I probably never would have watched the movie. Cheese factor, I'm going to agree with you, 8. I would like to give it more. I wanted to give it more. I really wanted to be like, this is a 10, like this is the cheesiest movie ever. But because it was 1980 and things were just so different. So I kind of feel like I wouldn't be fair to give it the highest cheese, because there was Gene Kelly was in it and Olivia Newton-John, you did have some talent in there, and it really was kind of, I don't think it was supposed to be as cheesy as it turned out, or they weren't thinking that it would have been as cheesy as it did end up turning out. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna give it an 8 as well on cheese factor.
Very nice.
Still pretty high, but not the worst, not the cheesiest. It does not get slices of American cheese thrown at the screen. But, there's one thing I actually did want to say. I don't know if like everybody knows or maybe some people don't, but her actual real name, do you know what her real name was? It was not Kira, as she called herself Kira.
Terpsichordis or something like that?
It was Terpsichore.
Terpsichore, yeah.
Which means apparently in Greek to like dance, to dance, to like have joy in dancing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know that there's 9 sisters. They're all muses. That's a real myth. And the one that was the muse of dance was called, I thought it was called Terpsichore, but Terpsichore, okay.
Terpsichore, yep.
Because it's weird because she starts to say it. She goes, my real name is and he like shushes
he kisses her. Yeah.
Like he kisses her, okay. He basically shuts her up.
Yep.
I don't know why they hid it. And even when Zeus says, because Sonny's like, hey, Zeus. And he's like, we don't use those outdated names anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were trying to avoid people being like, that's not the real Greek myth. Or if they were worried that people would be like, oh, it's anti-Christian. Like, I don't know why they tried to sort of play down some of the more specific issues.
I don't know if people were that, it's not like now. I don't think people really cared about that stuff back then, like that kind of thing. I feel like it was supposed to be that her name wasn't supposed to be spoken because she was like sacred or something. I don't know.
No, she was ready to say it though. Maybe it was her Australian accent. They were like, let's just have him kiss her.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that's it.
Yeah. That's it.
And I guess we will catch everybody next time on Just the Cheese, Please.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.
Tubes, I don't know. I remember I said the Tubes were that 80s band from that montage with the 40s. Yeah. You know what songs the Tubes did?
I don't know who they are, no.
They did She's a Beauty, that song. Don't fall in love. She's a beauty. She's one in a million girls.
Oh, yeah, I know that song.
Yeah.
Which was in a lot of, I feel like that was in a lot of 80s movies, that song.
It was one of the first videos ever produced, so they played it heavily on MTV in the early 80s because they only had like 100 songs to pick from.
Yeah.
And they also did a song called I'll Talk to You Later. I'll talk to you later. Don't want to hear it again tonight. No, you might not know that one. Mm-mm. This isn't for the podcast. This is.
I was going to say, are you going to leave that in? Please do.
No.
Come on, Adam.